All right, cool. Again, I'm Lance Knight. I'm the CEO of ConnectALL, and I'm going to talk about learning to see, measure, and automate within your software delivery value stream. There's been a lot of conversations around value stream management these days, and there's this chaos, I think, going on at the CIO level. And I think there needs to be a cultural type of shift around this. You know, any CIO or VP or leader is getting hit everywhere from observability to DevSecOps, agile transformations, tying software to business outcomes. They're getting hit with security, tooling vendors. The business has a lot of requests today. In this world of rapid digital transformation, which is occurring based upon our times, everybody wants to self-serve and so on. So it's really a lot of chaos and a lot of noise that's going into the typical CIO today. So one of the things about what you can do with that is you can have these conversations. Sorry, I missed my slide. So you have these conversations, which are lack of communication, duplicate data, multiple tools. All these things are coming together to solve these problems of chaos, right? So at ConnectALL, we've been doing value stream optimization. And value stream optimization is simply put when you take a look at how you're delivering software from OKRs to code in production. How can I start to optimize? How can I look at that? And we've done this with a lot of companies, and there's been a lot of learning that's come out of that. And it's that process of looking at the end-to-end software delivery value stream, all the way from a customer request to code in production. And mapping all sections of your value stream as you're doing that. But what I've ran into when you want to do that is these three fundamental areas that are really important. That's to be able to see, measure, and automate. You have to be able to see your value stream first. And that's observability, or being able to observe it. You can be able to see information flow, to see that happen. I need to be able to measure that. I need to look at where I was to where I'm going. I need those measurements so I can get the right metrics out. And on top of that, after I'm done doing those things, I have the ability to understand how I can automate. How can I increase flow? How can I increase my production flow? What can I do? Now that I can see what's happening as I deliver software, I now want to be able to measure and automate it. And I can't automate it or improve it until I've seen it, till I've observed it, till I put my measurements in place. I want to talk a little bit about seeing your value stream. And it's kind of interesting when I give this slide in the past, or I talk about how to see the value stream and see the flow of work. I start to get to my manufacturing days, right? So when I was in manufacturing, this is a sample of a manufacturing facilities, right? Here's an airline manufacturing line. You can see planes come in, they move through. There's raw materials coming out to the planes as they're building them as they need them. They have their Kanbans over there, which is where they take the materials off. And that's the same through all these other value streams. And you can see the value, you can see the flow of work from that work and that output. But that's not the same, in software delivery. Here again with manufacturing, materials come in, they go through flow, they go through their different cells, we call those in manufacturing. They come out the other side to production, and they go out to the customer. It's very straightforward and linear. That's not true in software delivery. Here's a sample of a traditional value stream map from software delivery. I used to work in forging, so raw materials come in, they go to milling, forging, grind, it would get inspected, and then back to the customer, of course. And it's pretty linear. There's some of my metrics, my flow metrics at the bottom here from software delivery, the lean metrics, which just shows the time that it's in these different states. You can see that there's my uptime, my cycle time, all those things that goes through this transition. And on the top, there's this thing called production control that's managing all that flow. But if you look at this image, and it's kind of an interesting image, where's the value stream here? You don't see it. It's all in the Ethernet or in cyberspace or wherever it is, it's bits and bytes in a computer. So how do you map that? How do you look at that? How do you look at the flow of work here when everything is here? You can't really see the flow of work in this picture. How do I measure this? Because things aren't in the cyber world moving in the same way. So one of the key things here is if you want to measure something, you need to be able to see it. So you have to design it so you can. So you really can't see the flow of work right there. So this is a sample value stream map from software delivery. And this was kind of, when I looked at this earlier and I put this together, I realized that this really doesn't show the flow of work either. You know, feature request goes into plan. Well, plan has all of its multiple flows. Design has all of its multiple flows. There are different value streams throughout all of this to move code to production. So something's been missing from this map. And I'm going to talk about that as I tell you how you can start to look at your software delivery across your whole organization and look for the flow of work and see the work go through and the work breakdown as well. So you need to see the flow at multiple levels too, right? So we talk a lot about seeing the flow of operations, which is the plan, build, code, run. But you have to see the other flows as well. You need to see the request flow. How does that information come? Where can I improve my request methods and processes? You need to see the development flow as I'm moving code through. My operational flow, to me, that's code to production. So I'm in my development flow, I work on stuff, take it out of there and work through there. And this helps you to make all the work visible so that I can see everything that's happening across my whole value stream. So I can see ideas come in and move all the way down through. So this is a sample value stream map that we use when we do a optimization program at ConnectALL. So you can see that here is a epic story that came in into my request flow. And you see I have the different stages that's going through there. So that as that moves along, you can see it moves to get approved. That epic could have come from my OKR tools or my other software as well, because you connect that all the way up for complete visibility down through your value stream. That epic then becomes in design. And you can see that because that epic's in design, it actually went down and it created a user story in my development flow. And it's multi-dimensional as well. So there are multiple development teams that could be getting epics from that request flow as it's moving through your value stream. Of course, as you start to break down that epic, it's creating more and more user stories. Again, those are going different tasks, different teams. Now I moved through to plan, my epic then moved through the plan, and I'm starting to work on a governance model here where everything moves through. So when we map a value stream and try to look at how customers are delivering software, we do it through these lens of looking at these different flows. So then we can improve those flows and improve your overall outcomes in software delivery. So that can improve that I'm delivering against those business outcomes. When a customer asks for something, I can do that. My customer satisfaction goes up because I'm delivering things that are relevant to the business and it's all connected in your value stream. So this is, I'm moving through again, it's in process. And again, we're continuing to move through them. A couple of those user stories went to done. I have a third user story there that's just now being worked on in my operational flow. It's being, code's been checked out and people are working on it. It then moves all the way up to moving my epic still in development because of the work breakdown. So I can start to see the flow of work here. I can see the connections as I start to map out and look at how things flow in an organization. Moving that through the test, you can see the user stories are done. They're in test. Let's say it passes test, moves through, it's now deployed. And now I have this epic story, which is done and in production, and it's moved now to operations. But at the same time, it's uncovered a defect. And that defect sits there and it goes then through the request flow. It gets broken down. It gets broken down how I'm going to deliver against it. How am I going to fix it? What am I going to do? Once I start to see how all these different value streams in your organization relate and work together, I can then start to measure them. And there are a myriad of different tools that are used for each point through this. And there are tons of feedback loops that occur as well. So you got your business outcomes coming in from GK Hub, where I'm defining my OKRs, connected to my request flow, connected to my deployment flow, and my operational flow. And I can see all these things working together as I look at my metrics as well. And you have to look at feedback loops. Feedback loops are really important in software delivery, especially in DevSecOps and DevOps as well. How fast can I get that vulnerability back to development to get it fixed? Or, connecting those requests right back into your value stream quickly. This is a sample that we put together when we lay out a value stream tool chain and a tool map and a value stream map, where you can see here where ideas are coming in from different tools and they're moving through the system. We're mapping the feedback loops, and everything is moving within the flow of those different value stream flows that I talked about earlier, when I'm looking at the operational flow as well as the flow of code, as well as the request flow and the development flow and so on. So now I can see, right? I went through and I did all this work. I talked to everybody. I designed and looked at how they're managing things. How do their Kanbans work? How do things flow across their organization? How is work getting broken down? And I have a map, a way of looking at it and representing it. Now I need to measure. Now I need to look at, how do I measure these things? How do I make sure that what I go through the next stage, which is automate, I'm taking on the right thing? So how do I measure? Now that I can see, I want to be able to measure. And measuring is very interesting. And there's tons of metrics out there. There's the DORA metrics, the flow metrics, all these different things that you can measure flow with. And we have whole nother sessions on you deciding what metrics are important to you. And we're going to talk about that now. So how do I determine which metrics do I use? Because a set of 4 metrics or 5 metrics may tell a story that's important to you, but it may not. So what can I use in order to decide what metrics to use? So I'm a fan of using goal measure metric. And let me talk about that. So goal measure metrics, what metrics do I need to make things better? So our approach is that you define the goal, determine the metrics, understand the intent for each metrics, and plan how you're going to collect it. Now, because I'm understand the information flow, I can now start to capture these metrics at any point and put those together to make decisions. By the way, you don't capture metrics, you capture measurements that give you metrics. So I have the ability to capture these metrics, and then I can use this thought process of goal, question, metric to make my business decisions. So what am I going to do with that metric? What's it going to do for me? What's the question I'm going to ask? And then what metric is it that I need? And once you start to understand this whole goal, question, metric point of view, it makes it easier to decide the right metrics that are important to you. And goal, question, metric breaks down across the hierarchy as well. The CEOs might have their metrics that are relevant to them, and you're able to capture this information through your value stream. Project managers have theirs, right? The CTOs are going to be asking different metrics along this journey also. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. So, and these bottom ones are those metrics. So you can decide whether you want to do the lean metrics, the flow metrics, whether I want to understand defect density better, or those types of quality metrics. Which ones do you want to see? And put those all on a dashboard so you can decide and make business decisions based upon those metrics. Because I'm able to see the value stream now, right? I've mapped it. I can see it. I can see the flow of work. I see what's going on. I'm capturing measurements from it. And with those measurements, then I need to be able to make the decision what metrics are important to me. Do I want the DORA metrics to make decisions? Are there other metrics that I'm going to use as well as business and lean flow metrics to help me improve the value stream, right? I can make improvements. I can see where waste is happening in software delivery. So you have to define metrics for each stage. Your request metrics are going to be different than your operational metrics. When a customer puts in a request to have a certain capability, you're not going to inform them about your lean metrics on your operation or development flow. You're going to tell them how far along you are and then talk to them about that. That's a different thing. So those are your portfolio metrics. And you decide on the portfolio metrics you want by using goal question metric. Now your team metrics, your development team metrics, the flow metrics and the lean metrics work really well there. And your operational metrics are a whole nother set of metrics that you look at that aren't connected as well. So you have to go through and say, now that I can see, I can determine which one of these metrics are important to me. Whether those are the operational type metrics, more of the DORA metrics, whether I'm looking at, productivity metrics and tracking metrics, which are lean metrics from traditional manufacturing, or my portfolio metrics, which are how well did this request align to my business outcome, or what customer value did I get out of that? And you have to look at all these different metrics in order to see where to improve. And the hot metrics today, of course, are the flow and lean metrics. And those are actually pretty easy to get as you're looking through your value stream and so on. So these metrics really allow you to improve in different places. And I'm a big fan of these metrics. I learned them years ago when I worked in software delivery, when I worked in manufacturing, as we looked at linear value streams and how to capture these metrics. So with these measurements, and now that I can see, what can I determine? Do you remember the start of my presentation? It was see, measure, and automate with value stream management. So I showed you how we can see the value stream by mapping it, looking at all the different flows. We talked about measuring it, right? By looking at what metrics are important to me and why, so that I could improve. And then I can determine a whole bunch of things from here. So here are the flow metrics. Let's say these are the request flow. How long does it take for things to move through these different stages? How do these relate to other things? This is your development flow. We talked about that as well. And your operational flow. And the operational flow is pretty straightforward too, where things go from a code repository to Jenkins, Build, Selenium, all the way through. And then in operations, I'm looking at tools that are providing information back as well. And it's important to look at your feedback loops when you're looking at this flow also. How long does it take for something to get from an operational scan or a test scan or a security scan back to development and get repaired? It is really important in software delivery when you're looking at that. So now that I can see, now that I can measure, how do I know what to automate? How do I know what to improve? What can I do from here, right? I've got the visibility, I got the measurements. Now I want to automate and improve. Well, I like using lean principles to make decisions based on information I have, right? And identify value. We talked about that through here. Map the value stream. That's what we were talking about. Create flow. These are the 5 principles of the lean metrics. Establish your pull and seek perfection. And really what we're talking about here is seeking perfection by being able to see, automate, and measure your value streams. Measure and automate. And I can use these types of principles to make all kinds of decisions. One of those is the 8 areas of waste. Now, these are part of the lean practices. Waste is talent waste, inventory waste, there's over-processing waste. And you can look through your whole value stream now that you can see it and measure it and determine where you can remove waste. And a lot of times waste removal is in defects or in motion waste, where I'm spending too much time moving things around. For example, in marketing the other day, we determined that there was waste when we were trying to put a video up to YouTube, where we would have the creator create the video, clean it up, and then have our other person, our IT person, take it and upload it and do that. And we're like, well, the creator can just upload it. And we remove what I would call movement waste, defect waste, rework waste. All of that is part of it as well. But once you understand some of these principles, the lean principles, And some of the other things that we just talked about establishing flow and all those things, mapping the value stream, all of that, I can now learn how to, or understand how I might want to improve my value stream through these principles. So, I thought I'd throw this slide in here so that everybody kind of get a point of, okay, Lance, what does all this have to do with DevOps? Well, it has a lot to do with DevOps, because as we're looking at these different flows, it's not just developer flows, it's operation. All of this comes together in order to improve software to production. It doesn't matter what part of software development, software delivery you're working on, this is important because I can now see how software is getting developed. I can still look at that. I can see into my value stream and decide how I'm going to fix things or deliver software quicker. And you bring it all together. And it's a little bit about, that new buzzword out there, observability. I now have the ability to observe the full value stream, be able to see all the things flowing through my value stream because I've measured it and I've observed it. I have a baseline. I go back and remeasure, see if I have improved. So giving that full observability, not just code to production, but all the way through, helps you ask the right questions. So if I'm going to try to improve, see, measure, automate, this is going to help you ask the right questions. As I look at all of the different things across it, I can make decisions based upon what's going on in my value stream. I can look at metrics and then go and decide, okay, so why is that? What's going on? It's kind of like this. So the things you can go through and find. So let's look for waste. Okay, so why do I have such defects around quality and security right now? Why is my defect density so high? Now I'm capturing that metric. I can see that. I can make a decision. Now I can look at things and make automation decisions, right? So can we apply feedback loops from monitoring right to our development team to make that quicker? Or better yet, can I empower the developers to run those scans before we put that code in production after they've gone through a build? So I can look through the value stream. I can see how we're doing things, and now I can improve. Now I can decide, how can I make things faster, better? And I can do that based upon knowledge, based upon the information that's relevant. And those are the outcomes that you get from doing a value stream management and a value stream optimization workshop. You have visibility. You improve your predictability in software delivery. You improve your traceability. You improve all these things that you want to see when you now understand how work moves through your organization. And now I can also take and figure out, how can I automate? How can I be better so I'm delivering a higher quality touch experience and handling that chaos that is relevant to software delivery today? So there's that chaos, right? So I've mapped the value stream. I've learned to see, measure, and automate. And I'm able to go ahead and then implement tools as I need to improve software delivery with value stream management. So thank you so much. And I want to thank all the sponsors here today as well.
So Lance, we do have a question for you in the Slack chat. It says, okay, let's make that role specific. Say I'm a test manager coordinator used in everyday life to count bugs and written requirements covered by test cases, which probably are not very value stream centered metrics. What could I do from my system test perspective to help my organization find better metrics? Can you share practical experiences with cooperating with such roles?
So I think we went to talking about goal, question, metric, right?
Yeah.
So goal, question, metric is really great, because then I can say, okay, what is the goal? What am I trying to do with that metric? What am I trying to do even in my value stream? So if I'm looking at my value stream and the goal is to improve quality, then I look at the questions I'm trying to answer and then get the right metric to tell a story. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I think that's where we're going for. So once I do that, then I can say I have the right metric. Then I can look into the value stream and say, okay, what can I do to improve my defect density ratio or so on?
So I think, it's interesting when you bring up all these different value streams, right? It's a lot of different people and processes. I think when you look at that type of collaboration, have you ever encountered any friction from certain groups when you're doing these types of evaluations? And is there
Yeah.
any
Mhm.
things that you've done to really mitigate that risk or of friction between the two groups?
Yeah, absolutely there is, right? There's competing forces in the value stream. So if you think about the business is all about getting new stuff out there to drive revenue, to do all these things. Then you think about operations. These are different forces. These are the forces of stability compared to the forces of change, right? Operation is looking for stability. I want security, stability, reliability, right? Change wants revenue, faster time to market, all of that. And there are always these competing forces in the value stream. But once you see where things are flowing and understand that, and you can go through this from that mindset, it's a lot easier to hold that conversation, a prioritization conversation, right? The chaos that I talked about is a little bit about that, right? So here I've got my software organization that wants more stuff faster, quicker. And I got operations saying, no, that wouldn't be secure, but I need it, right? You can have that better discussion and understand it because you have the metrics and the measurements and everything to have a decent discussion. So anyway, that's me saying, yeah, I run into that all the time.
I think it's good to know though that like that is something that you could endure, and realistically you pragmatically have to be prepared for that. And I think like your presentation talked about, it's all about having the right metrics and values that you're looking for to really, guide that conversation between different groups.
Well, and I'll leave with I'll leave this question with this. If you're guiding that group and you're looking at that friction, you have to look at it with empathy,
Okay.
right? You have to look at it with empathy. That person is passionate about that, not because they're against you, but it's because they have a position that is about maintaining stability and security. And you have to have empathy for that. And the empathetical positioning is really important when you're in exercises like this.
And I think it's that human piece, you know what I mean? You have
I
to,
say that all the time, don't I? If you've ever looked at our whole company, we say value stream management is human.
yeah, it's all about the people interaction. So
Yeah.
Lance, thank you so much.